Someone already forgot who bought beers last night. So, Jericho, I've been around for a long time, one of the main guys behind attrition.org. Is there anyone not familiar with that website? Be honest real quick, because the entire presentation's wrapped around it. Good, okay. So a couple things real quick. Number one, these slides will be available in a few days. If you want to download them, they have a lot of notes, and what I see as the presenter notes, including URLs, more stats and everything. So it'll give you a little more perspective into this talk above and beyond anything I say here. I tend to lose focus, so I have to kind of stick to the notes. I'm a big fan of Q&A or heckling during a talk, so it's fair. Yeah, so it's fair game. If you guys have questions, concerns, comments, let me know. You know, we'll address them right now, or we'll address them afterwards over some beer or something. So the Errata project has been going on for 13 years now, which is kind of a surprise when someone said, hey, you should give a talk on that. I was like, oh yeah, you know, it's kind of a hobby, we'll see. And I started actually looking into the history of it. And yeah, this is where we ended up. So for those of you who aren't familiar, I speak my mind. I use bad language, which is, you know, situational. One of the big things about Errata and attrition.org is it's a hobby website. That means we have no corporate backing. That may seem like a downside until you realize that that also means I get to say whatever the fuck I want, whenever, about whoever, and I don't have to answer to anyone except for myself, and occasionally the law, which I'll get into. So, disclaimer, opinions are my own, really. Everything in here is my opinion, my views, not even that of the rest of the staff. The rest of the staff that contribute to Errata, they've looked over this, they've contributed to it, but whatever comes out of my mouth is my own. So, for any of the potential lawsuits that are gonna come as a result of this talk, which 50-50 odds, it's all me. Who polices the industry right now? No one. Us, and it's a very short part-time thing. In reality, who should? You guys. It's your industry, right? You guys care about it, you're passionate about security, yes? Yeah? So why don't you do more to police it? Why don't you call people out, hold more people accountable when they screw up or they say something that hurts your business? Should anonymous or the dreaded APTs, which I call any means necessary, hey, I'm okay with it right now. How about professional groups like ISC2 and their code of ethics? Anyone? Yeah? Got another fun rant about them coming down the road. How about journalists? When was the last time you saw a journalist actually take someone to task? It's rare. That's sad. It's a dismal state of affairs when journalists don't have the integrity or the balls to go after a company that is doing stupid shit. Bloggers, it happens every once in a while. Can't rely on them. Publishers, like for books, they care about their bottom line. They do not care about anything else. And how about the law, like an attorney general? Their plates are full. What they see here is considered too low on the totem pole. In the meantime, that leaves us until someone better comes along, and we sincerely hope someone better than us comes along any day now. It would be greatly appreciated. I could use the time off. So who's behind Errata? There's three main people right now. There's CJI, Senior Irony Analyst. He does a ton of the work on the site, updates probably 60, 70% of our pages. Liger, he makes the entire domain and the box run. He is retired as far as actually writing the Errata, but he does still do proofreading and technical editing. And me. The only claim to fame I have is that I'm the dumbass who said, take your shots at me, I'll guard the rest of them. And you'll see why that happens in a minute. So we have a staffing problem, and we always have. We've had 2 big calls for volunteers. First time, one person stuck around, Liger. Second time, CJI, and the rest of them flaked. They would last anywhere from days to a couple weeks at best. Everyone says, I want to help the project, I want to do what's right, and then they see, wait a minute, this requires me to do all 30 minutes a week of work, and there's no glory behind it, there's no pay, there's no hookers, there's no blow, screw this, you know, and they're out as fast as they came in. It requires almost no training other than Research, verify, and be thorough. So if you know how to use Google and you're a little OCD, you're perfect for the job. The longevity of this project is due to a very few small of us crazies. So we don't exactly have the most ugly image, and there's a reason for that. Being ugly doesn't cut it. It's the nature of Errata. We are very critical, and we tell the truth, and the truth is often brutal. So like Batman, we needed a symbol to invoke fear, thus Laszlo. And for those who don't know, Joanna Goldman, she does all these great little animal creatures, and one of hers was Buck. And I said, hey, I need the evil cousin of Buck. And that's what she came up with, and we think it's pretty fitting. So, Errata's all around us. It's all about showing the bad in our industry, right? We are basically auditors of our industry. How many in here have done any kind of auditing, pen testing, anything along those lines? Who here professionally points out the crappy things in someone else's work? That's all we do. Yet, somehow there's this huge disconnect. People are like, well, wait a minute, what you're doing is so evil or wrong, or there's something, I don't know, I can't put my finger on it. And it's like, no, we audit. That's really all we do. So I tell people, Errata's all around us. Here's two examples. These are both in my building at home. Number one, who sees what's wrong down here? Anyone? How about equipment? How do you spell that? Oops. And so one of my lovely neighbors also left this on the gate for Mr. FedEx driver, bypassing our, awesome security. These are what I call quick wins. So you're going around your life, you see something like this. This is real easy to document. You snap a picture, you put a couple one-liners, some witty saying something, easy to document. Then there's another kind of errata that we actually have to look for. So this is one of my local bums, and by bums I mean he's not a bum at all. He panhandles at the corner about a half a mile from my place. And if you start to drive by this corner every day like a commuter and you watch, you'll notice that something stands out. He's got 6 jackets, at least 4 hats. He has his daily Starbucks, sometimes twice. Not pictured is the key ring on his belt with 2 keys on it. And I got lucky one day and caught him crossing a road on the way home. So I was like, oh, screw this, man, I'm going to follow him. Ended up going about 5 blocks over, and I lost him because of one-way streets, and I had to circle around, but I know what building he lives in. So these are the long-term projects. These are a lot harder to document. They take a lot more time, but this is more akin to a charlatan write-up. So we have to be more careful in the evidence. In this case, it was like, hey, I've got a phone, it's got a camera, I'm at this light every day. Click. That's all it took. So, coping mechanisms. While we joke, working on errata is not good for mental health. Steadily builds stress, feelings of depression, leads to unhealthy levels of anger. And seriously, that's no joke. Anytime any of you follow me on Twitter and you see a huge, 3 a.m. rant, just pure rage. Those are the best. They're the best, but they always follow a night of errata and a big bottle of tequila. Seriously. Because that's the only way to cope with dealing with this, where you spend a lot of your free time looking at all the bad in the industry that you once believed in. So imagine doing that. 10 hours a week, let's say. This industry that you are passionate about, you love, and all you do is look at the bad. And you see it going downhill very quickly with no hope of recovering. So the brief history. We've gone through a lot of sections. For the most part, they're all there. I think literature is the only one that went away. Early on, we started doing errata in books. So like a security book would come out, and we'd say, oh, this is an error, this is bad. That section would have ballooned up pretty fast, and it took too much time. Media, charlatans, statistics. Statistics has died once, twice, 3 times, 98, 05, and 10. Basically, a company says, oh, here's some security metrics. Here's some stats about our business or whatever. You can always poke holes in them because most people don't know how to do statistics. The main thing is they don't qualify or disclaim them. oh, well, we do this in this number by this metric or whatever, and that's all they'll tell you. Well, they don't go through all the details of, well, this was in a controlled environment, this is only asking our customers, you know. So anytime you read any number in any security press, question it. Eventually, we came up with Dataloss, which most of you now know as datalossdb.org, which is an OSF project, which I'll get into. We have certified pre-owned, which someone mentioned earlier, using that term. That was actually coined by Dan Gear. Legal threats, auto-fail, spam, but that gives you a good visual of when these popped up. Errata started December 9, 1998. So, in those years, we've changed just a little bit. We very much believe in content, don't really care about style. So, the original, nice, actually, that was probably pre-tags back then, yeah. And now we've got fancy HTML tables. And man, there's a lot of people that don't realize how much they regret when I learned how to do HTML tables. Because that opened the door to the nicer plagiarism write-ups and everything. You know, it's the little things. Back in August of 2000, and I had to use archive.org, great project, the bottom of our page said, after a recent comment, I'd like to solicit ideas on a better name for the site. Feel free to mail rooted attrition with ideas. No one did. We didn't come up with better, so 13 years later, it's still Errata. One of the recent questions we've got, and I think this one was a space road question, Ledger, yes?
Maybe.
One of yours, I think. Anyway, so what kind of money is involved in this project? This is not a complete picture, but this is most of it. We've gone through several boxes. We've had hosting cost. The 2,000 and the 3 euros means it's well upwards of that, but we had an informal agreement. We give out stuff. We made the flasks, stickers, wristbands, which I have some afterwards if anyone wants. We've made some shirts we've given away. More recently, there's earrings, lapel pins, and everything by a company called Make It Yours. Not affiliated with us. We basically said, hey, you're a startup company. You did some work for us. We like it. Run with it. You know, they have free reign to basically sell Laszlo endorsed products. Donations for Errata, $1,180 have come in, 13 years. Those are donations that specifically said this is for Errata. Book purchases, 425 bucks. Legal defense, 1,100. That's about to go up considerably, which I'll get into. And $125 because we were under DDoS and had to create a second domain, which should have been done 10 years ago. My screw up. But anyway, that was a good kind of, yeah, let's get to it. Any questions about the ledger?
So how much are you in the hole?
Technically, 2, 3, 5,000, hard to say. You know, but that's spread out over 13 years, so it's not really that bad. Also not mentioned here is like some of the con badges for like DEF CON. I usually make up about 20, give to either contributors or close friends or whatever, kind of promote the project. Also not on there because I don't really want to put a lot of marketing stuff on there, but I have to put some. So some quick stats about Errata. We have, let's see, I'll let you guys look at that one later about all the file spaces and everything. But 22 charlatans, 84 on the research list, 14 on the public list, watch list, 26 plagiarists that have done digital content stealing, 12 in print, and we've had 1 on the watch list removed. So it can happen. We have a section called Certified Pre-Owned, when a vendor ships any form of media with malware already installed. And like I said, that term was coined by Dan Gear. And as of May 16th, and by the way, all of these stats are mid-May. This is what we're looking at for CPO. And what's interesting is, look at back in 92, that huge spike. Back in 92, for some reason, every freaking piece of media, like games and software, they were still being distributed on floppy disk with viruses. Fascinating. Auto-fail. automatic update mechanism failures. Cases where like patches and automatic virus signature updates fail to work correctly. Often have disastrous side effects like, oh, you can't boot your box anymore. Sorry about that. These are the companies that protect you. These are security companies. Oh, use our antivirus, you'll be more secure. Use our firewall, you'll be more secure. Just hope we don't fuck up and drop your entire network. And by the way, on average, that happens once a year. Sorry.
What's the most common piece of software has auto-update failed?
Actually,
Oh, okay.
outstanding question. So there you go. Does anyone in here have the balls to admit they work for any of these companies? No? Okay. So McAfee, definitely up there. Symantec, Microsoft, and AVG, they've all had them. It's not just the thing about looking at the numbers, and like I said, download the slides, because I have some better examples. So like Avira, whatever, 2, one other update crippled millions of PCs. That's a big one, you know. F-Secure, one false positive deleted some clean files. Annoying. So yeah, there's a wide range of what happened, and it's also interesting to watch how these different products will accidentally flag their competitor. Yeah, it's like, what happens if we make our competitor go away? Yeah. Legal threats. These are cases of vendors using the threat of legal action, either a lawsuit, DMCA, or something, to stifle or suppress security research. There are more out there than we have on the page. We're still trying to dig them up. If you hear about them, please, just give us a pointer. We'll go do the research. We'll dig into the law cases if we need to. We will interview. We'll find out. But we want to know when this happens. And we know it's happened a ton. For example, CERT back in the day, back in late 80s, early 90s, they received legal threats as like routine. But unfortunately, CERT is not fully part of a government agency. They partner with. So they're exempt from FOA requests, so we can't get our hands on those. So if any of you are ex-CERT people that just happen to have those and they got leaked tomorrow, we wouldn't hate you. Who's doing the legal threats? Anyone want to admit for working for any of these companies? At least the red ones. The green ones mean it was somehow resolved in the favor of the researcher. So yeah, it sucks that the company went and threatened to sue, harassed, DMCA'd or whatever, but ultimately the research got out. 24 threats, 15 did not stop the publication, 8 resulted in cancellation of the talk or publication. And let's see. So special irony call out. This one's cool. So 2002, HP uses a DMCA to threaten Snowsoft over research. 2005, 3Com acquires Tipping Point. 2005, Tipping Point found ZDI, which we're all familiar with. 2007, Tipping Point tries to quiet David Maynor and RVAsec which is not related to us, for reversing Tipping Point signatures. 2009, HP acquires 3Com. So there's like this weird incestuous clusterfuck of a circle of, wait, we hate research, oh wait, we're gonna profit heavily off of it. Who knows why? Anyway, so HP is also one of the worst companies as far as patching vulnerabilities. Simple cross-site scripting, 1,000 days, it's common. 1,000 days to fix cross-site scripting, and they're over there bitching at other people about security research. So the charlatans, this is what we're probably most well known for. We call out certain people in the industry that we think are essentially frauds in some manner or another. And again, these are our opinions. We are adamant about this. We will publish our side of the story. We will link to their side. We will link to as much evidence as humanly possible. We want you to figure it out on your own. Do not trust us. The same way we tell you not to trust them, not to trust a security vendor. Don't trust anyone except for yourself and your own powers of observation and reason. You deserve it. You owe it to yourself, and you owe it to the company you work for. Charlatans currently make up 15 individuals, 2 journalists, 5 companies, and the watch list has 14 individuals with what we call 2 fringe, which are kind of security related, but Plagiarism. These are the books that we have reviewed that contain plagiarized material. And that's a little ruler showing how big the stack is. And we have a nice stuffed sheep for you because it's a great animal. So 12 print authors for 17 books. There's 19 pictured, and I'm holding back 2 of them. There's 2 books on this list that are not pictured because I'm going to get to that. And that is basically not yet. You fuck with me, I'm going to release them. Question?
How many of those books have been reprinted to remove the plagiarized material?
0. Question is, how many have been reprinted to remove plagiarized material? Some of them are out of print. Actually, 1. Sorry, 1.
What would you say is the average amount of plagiarized material in each publication?
I have it broken down on the web page to in a few cases, very precise percents, in a few cases, approximates. Some of them are as high as 99.9%. Yeah. And some of them are as low as, I want to say, 32%. Maybe 1 or 2 low. Anyway, one of them has been reworked, Dissecting the Hack. Jason Street and 3 other authors. One of his authors was actually listed as a technical editor who, for some reason, didn't just technical edit. He wrote 2/3 of the book and plagiarized from Wikipedia. Anyway, so Jason Street found out. He was devastated. He went to Singress, said, hey, we've got to fix this. He organized a new group. They wrote a new version, Dissecting the Hack 2.0 or whatever, is out and plagiarism free. So that is a great example of, wow, we fucked up, but we're going to fix it. We're going to make it right. And I believe they also offered to refund anyone on the original book. But for the most part, these books are still in circulation, and that's mainly because a lot of them are self-published. And they're done by frauds that don't care because, hey, they're making money. So on the to-do list, we have more books. These are actually sitting in my living room, just haven't had time to go through them. Also not pictured, 20 more that are on the wish list or on order. These books, this isn't just, oh, they may. These are, we're 99% sure they have plagiarism based on something that's been sent to us, either a PDF, online, like Google Books, Amazon Preview, something. There's solid evidence to show that there is a good chance of it. Biggest call out, Cengage. Don't buy their books. They have the most plagiarism and they give the shit the least. Security companies. Cases where security companies botched security, often in an ironic and embarrassing fashion. So these are the times where the companies that are there to protect you did the opposite. They hurt you, they made you more vulnerable, they screwed up, and it's usually in really stupid ways. Like when these companies come to a conference and lecture you, oh, we've got this and 2-factor and data loss prevention or whatever, go check this page and then go ask them again. And not that I would change this, but they bailed. RSA, a couple months ago, they had a booth at a different conference and they left their table overnight, so I left them a nice note with like printed out errata of all their previous security blunders. Still curious how they responded to that. Among these, attrition.org ran there twice, 2 defacements. Biggest offenders, Microsoft, 52 times. McAfee, 19 or 21. The stats are kind of weird, bear with me. Symantec, 28. Security companies that spam, companies that sell integrity, some that sell anti-spam solutions, and then they turn around and blast you with email you didn't ask for. Worst offender, True Secure, 4 times. Obviously, we can see that this is a growing problem. If you get mail from a security company that you did not sign up for, and they are pitching their product or service, send it to us with full headers. Just make sure you are very clear that you did not opt in, that it didn't come from like, oh, I attended this conference, I gave them my email address, and I didn't read the fine print that said, we're going to give it to all the vendors in the vendor booths. So be very clear about it. Software. So we don't track it on Errata, but I am heavily involved with OSVDB. And OSVDB, we actually have a classification system where we can track security software. Once again, the software there to protect you has vulnerabilities, makes you insecure. As of May 16th, 1,704 vulnerabilities. 2% of all documented vulnerabilities that we know about are in security software. And that number is actually probably higher. Anyone see the problem here? I mean, how dismal is that? So, Errata done right. For the most part, we are behind. We have a lack of resources, a lack of time, a lack of interest. But every once in a while, something works out, and Dataloss is the perfect example. The original concept was in 2001. It's a long time ago. So Dataloss is a recent thing. People are like, oh yeah, DLP and Dataloss and this and that. And that goes back to like, I don't know, 2007, 8 something, Jake? Yeah, give or take? Yeah, 2001 is when we thought, yeah, we need to track all this. And in 2005, we actually implemented it. And eventually in 2008, we moved it over to Open Security Foundation, who said, yeah, we're going to do it a little better than that. And we were like, kick ass, run with it. So yeah, this was the original mail I sent to the internal team saying, yeah, we should track all this. Before and after. So yeah, we had ghetto HTML and some links and no search, distributed in CSV, no metrics, no real classification system. And then afterwards, when it was moved to OSF, they said, oh, okay, we'll give it its own site. We'll have a real developer. We're going to code the whole thing. Extensive metrics, expanded sources of information. Anyone can submit now. And now they've got a dedicated data input person, or 2 or 3 now. Yeah, there's that many data breaches. 2 to 3 full-time people to keep up with the amount of data breaches. That's crazy. So there's the stats. That's grim. You know, where's our security right now? All the security that we're peddling as vendors, all the security that we're preaching as, you know, members of the security industry, where's it actually going? Is it really helping anyone? Evidence says otherwise. So, confronting charlatans. And I know I've got one fan that's going to want to hear all about this. Does it happen? Yes. A lot more frequently than realize. So, the general process is someone gets on our radar. Doesn't matter how. You submit a name to us, I read something, and I'm like, God, this guy pisses me off, whatever. Somehow, he gets on the radar. From there, it starts as a name, and we determine if we're going to build a case. It really is a logical, step-by-step progression. We do our research, Google, go 10, 15, 20 pages deep. We want to find all the articles, good and bad. Once we find them, we determine, is this a one-off situation? Is this a pattern? What is the intent? Have they ever been called out before? If they have, how do they react? Are they trying to defraud people? Are they profiting off of it? We try to look at all of that and determine, is this person a menace to our industry? If so, we write it up. We try to gather as much evidence as we can. Once that's done, we submit it internally to our team. We all kind of vote on it. We give feedback, and it's like, oh, you know, this isn't really a good case. This is kind of weak, or, wow, shit, clean this up, publish it. This is for sure. One of the questions that came up before this talk is, you know, do you ever give them a chance to defend themselves? And do you ever give consideration to what you're going to do to their careers if you publish? Yes, sometimes, and yes, always. So, Ankit Fadia, he was in Denver giving a talk. This dumbass kid from India makes up to $25,000 for a 1-hour talk. I'm lucky to get a beer after this for my talk.
You're gonna get 2.
Yeah, he's getting $25,000 a pop to peddle what is now going on 12-year-old crap about NetBus. He still uses the same slides, basically, that he did 12 years ago. And even back then, his entire career started off as, I'm a whiz kid, and 14, and security, this and that, and I wrote a book, 32% plagiarized. Anyway, so, yeah. He goes to Denver to give a talk, and yeah, I go down to where he's giving the talk, and I hang out, because I'm going to confront him, and I tell him this on Twitter. I was like, after you're done with your talk, I've got some questions for you. What does he do? He hides. They end up taking him out the back alley of the restaurant, this like banquet room that he was doing, to keep him away from me. Why did they do it? Oh, did I mention that he told the police that were there guarding him that I was there to kill him? Yeah. So again, you know, a legitimate, honest person doesn't lie to the police to hide from a journalist. Because when we do Errata, that's all we are, we're journalists. A little different, but, you know, basically the same thing. So Sahil Khan had an email and chat with him. Frederick Blois of HT Bridge had a long set of emails with him. Kim Schmitz from Mega Upload fame.
So how long did it take you to convince the Denver cops that you weren't there trying to kill them?
They were not convinced. The cop was stationed downstairs to start, and I went down, because I ate at the restaurant that night, and like I said, he was in a banquet room downstairs. I went down to the bathroom and noticed a cop there, and I was like, this is a weird place for you to be stationed. And he's like, oh, private party. And immediately my head's like, oh, bullshit, something's going on. So I go upstairs, end up waiting in their lobby, because it was something like 20 degrees out. Eventually, the cop comes up and talks to me. He's like, what are you hanging out here for? I was like, oh, I'm a journalist. I want to ask, the guest speaker down there some questions when he's done. And that's when he basically says, you can't stay in here. So I have to go wait out for hours in the 20-degree cold. And eventually the cop comes out and he says, you're here to do harm to him. And I was like, what? What gives you that idea? And he wouldn't tell me. So eventually, talking to the cop for, 10 minutes, the cop determines that, no, I'm not a threat. He understands because I show him, some of the proof and say, this is what's going on. These are the 5 questions, because I had them printed out, that I want to ask him. That's all. And, here's my phone that I'm going to record the answers on. He's like, okay. So cop goes back in. 2 hours later, the restaurant's closed. Everyone's left except for Anka. So eventually the manager comes out and he's like, well, wait a minute, why are you here? So I go through the whole spiel with him, and he starts getting all bitchy with me. And all of this is written up, by the way, in the URLs in here as well, the entire saga that night. So long story short, no, the cop finally left when Fadia was safe. That, okay. So Kim Schmitz, Mega Upload, you all probably know him, had email threads with him. Lou Cipher, aka Barry Schlossberg, and also an email, almost a dozen other people. So, publishing charlatans, we get what we call blowback. A lot of you are probably familiar with that term. I think it's a big CIA term or whatever. Standing up to them invariably results in some of the blowback for us. This is why there is one public, outspoken face to the project, because anything that comes in goes to me. If it didn't happen like that, do you think I would have any volunteers? No, it's like, oh, I want to give 30 minutes to make the industry better. Oh, shit, lawsuit, death threats. No, okay, I changed my mind, People are changing their mind without that. So right now it's all coming to me, which is fine. I believe in this. I think that this is a required and necessary thing in our industry. First one, Schlossberg. This guy, a.k.a. Lou Cipher, back in the day, this was, Space Rogue, when was 2008, 98? Long time ago. So he had a couple articles. He says, oh, I track hackers, I fly to their house, and I break their kneecaps to protect my company. He supposedly does this on company time, company-sponsored attacks against hackers. And this is actually in articles, InfoSec World and everything. And some of you may know Win Schwartau. He was part of that whole, hacker tracker thing. So I respond to some of these articles, and I put them up in 98 or 99. Don't think anything about it. 11 years later, he mails me. He finally finds these articles. He's not exactly, smart. So, he finds these articles and he says, oh, my wife's friend were searching for something and they found this. And I was like, dude, I saw what term you came in off of Google. I was like, I don't think your wife's friend is, ego surfing for Barry Schlossberg, Lou Cipher, Strike Back, or, whatever. Very precise terms. So I had this big, two sets of email are published with him, in which he makes vague threats to have me killed, and then he goes on to say that some Israeli special forces are interested in me. Yeah, apparently I've pissed off the entire nation, or something, I don't know. Anyway, so I've got outstanding death threats from him. We've got blowback from HT Bridge, or High Tech Bridge. Basically, they are a company in Switzerland. They are vendor neutral because they live in Switzerland. What kind of retardation is that? So that's the tip of the iceberg for them. they released these set of advisories that are horrible. I mean, the advisories are written like a 17-year-old script kiddie that can't see a screen. They miss bad vulnerabilities, like, oh, we found cross-site scripting. Oh, well, we forgot the remote code execution because we don't know how to audit software. This is my perception. So I make this huge case, put it up on Errata and say, these are the advisories that they screwed up on, these are the ones they missed. Oh, by the way, here's the 30% or so that are duplicates to existing issues that have already been exposed. And the head of High Tech Bridge's research group, Frederick Brullah, emails me and basically says, you're wrong. And his first email was businesslike, polite, and said, you're wrong. And I said, well, hey, tell me how. We had several emails back and forth, and I ended up making several edits to the page. I removed some content, I changed some content, and I held my ground on the rest because I come from a pen testing background. And I don't do it right now, but I still remember enough. And basically called him on it and said, you're still wrong about this. So the entire thing ends with him saying, well, okay, I understand everyone's got a right to their opinion, even if it's wrong. I was like, hey, that's fair. I've got my opinion, you've got yours, that's great. Jump to a few months ago and I get a mail from some prosecutor in Switzerland. They went and filed criminal defamation charges against me in Switzerland. So we have a couple problems with that. Number one, Switzerland's defamation laws are almost identical to the US. That means that, nope, not guilty. There's three things that make up defamation, and I am not guilty of any of those three. One's intent, one's, I'd have to look it up again. I should know it off the top of my head because I deal with this enough. Number two, once he found out about the page, he was required to file the charges within 3 months. He waited 8. Despite that, the prosecutor is A, not dropping the case, B, won't give me a copy of the complaint against me. He gave me 1 page of it to prove it's legit that doesn't name me. The original mail from the prosecutor, does anyone see? To staff at attrition. Dear sirs, the complaint is against attrition.org in Jericho. So apparently this wonder child over at High Tech Bridge couldn't Google, because if you do Jericho security into Google, the #1 hit gives you my real name. And he couldn't figure that out. And the funny part, that's the second charlatan that couldn't figure that out. So yeah, he filed this bogus lawsuit against me, still working it out. That's why I said earlier, my legal fees, they're gonna probably double, triple here in the near future. I already got a lawyer in Switzerland, we're working, we're trying to fight it, but it's slow going. Greg Evans. Who hasn't heard of him? Anyone? Okay, he's a character. So Evans is a character, and he is very vocal. The first Blowback was a lawsuit against 8 John Does. He is very fond of using the courts. He is also very bad at it, as he has won 0 cases in his life out of like 23 that he's filed. He doesn't really understand how courts work. He also uses all these bullshit legal tricks, and by tricks I mean court misconduct in some cases. This one, we were named as one of the John Does, John Doe number 5. And once again, it's against the person or individuals that operate a website located www.attrition.org and our Twitter feed. So again, he couldn't figure out how to contact us. Well, he did, kind of, but he couldn't figure out our names, even though that's very public. So 4 or 5 days before the case, through my domain registrar, I get a mail saying, by the way, there's a court case coming up in 5 days and you're part of it. Yeah, so he didn't give us any notice. On very short notice, we had to get a lawyer, ended up paying $1,100, and we settled out because he wanted us to remove 1 image. There's some 30 to 50 pages up on Errata on him. 1 image off 1 page. If I remove that, I'm out of the case. It's like, okay, listen, $1,100, remove 1 image, or $10,000 to $50,000 to fight it on First Amendment grounds, where the Supreme Court rules in my favor that I can use that image, but Georgia Supreme Court law, the state Supreme Court, says no. That's fruit from the poisonous tree, because the image came from his leaked mail spool. So, what are my choices? $1,100, $10,000 to $50,000, prolonged court battle. Yeah, I gave in on that one. Why? That image was added to the web page months after. Nothing else on that page has been redacted. That image was just like icing on the cake. So again, we call that a Pyrrhic victory. Did we lose? Nah, we settled. Did we lose? Not at all. We also have him having, oh wait, one sec. Yeah, there's a lot of blowback. I don't remember it all. I was surprised when I was doing the research for this. Oh yeah, he went through a phase where he was hiring private investigators. I think we were in on that. Not sure, never saw one, but who knows. Libel and email. So he tried to rent an apartment under his mom's name because he has no credit, because he's got no money. It's all a big front. And the company did their due diligence. They said, wait a minute, we found this interesting financial overview of your company. Can you tell us about that? True due diligence. Please explain this. We're not saying no. We're not calling you names. Just work with us. So he launches that little tirade. And the main one is that he says, this is the same site, and I'm quoting here. For the record, I am quoting Greg Evans' email. I am not saying this on my own accord. This is the same site, if you go through it, that called me niggers, and niggers don't know computers. It is also a site that says they need to hack all Jews' technology companies. If that's not libel, I don't know what is. And the whole time he's accusing us of slander and libel. So anyway, that one was a fun one. And yeah, I had to go through all the extra disclaimers because his number one go-to thing is that everyone in the industry hates him because he's black. No, it's because you're a freaking moron and you're a dick. Libel on the blog and podcast, which we'll get into. Medica, this one's a quick one. This one was off Dataloss. We posted a news article out of some no-name newspaper, but hey, it was a legit mainstream journalist. They decided to threaten us with a lawsuit. We told them fuck off, and I did so in my very nice, armchair lawyer manner. Hacker Happy, this is a Twitter feed. They're still active. They tweeted the other night. So they came up with some pictures of me that are mostly old, one new, or not even new. They're all like 10 years or more. Anyway, came up with this huge string of 99% inaccurate information. And they blended it all together and basically said that I'm a fraud. Maybe I am. This is not the evidence that supports that, though. In it, they said that, actually, yeah, if you go by their doxing, I have 3 middle names and 2 birthdays. So even within one page of their, tirade against me, they don't have any consistency. The only bad part is they in turn mailed this to everyone and their dog. If half of you got a copy, wouldn't surprise me, because I got so many copies from people I know. They also sent it to my employer, my day job, which I keep very distinct. They sent it to anyone and everyone, and then they put up a typo-squatted domain, attrition.org with 1 T. So yeah, this has been an interesting one. They also wrote up a second part. Sorry, go ahead.
So does this happy hacker have any relation to the old happy hacker? Okay.
This is not related to Minell. This is, we believe, possibly related to the denial of service attack, which I'm getting into. There was a second part to this that was apparently mailed to Greg Evans. Greg Evans reprinted that and also took it and ran with it on a blog where he said that attrition.org got hacked, defaced, deleted, which I'm not sure how all that works together, and that we didn't have backups. And this was during the denial of service attack. So no one could really verify that our site was or was not there. So when the denial of service attack ended and everything was back up, and by the way, security errata, the second domain was there with all the content, yeah, it kind of quickly disproved it, but he doesn't really care about that. Blowback Kimball, I'll let you guys read this later. Anyway, this guy's a true character. This is back in the days when it was Yeehot, young intelligent hackers against terrorism. We're going to get a bunch of hackers and we're going to fight terrorism on our own. Yeah, that didn't work out. The denial of service attack. So November 21st, last year, start of attack, botnet hit us. Ended up lasting about 34 days. Took out our web server. They tried for email server and DNS as well. Didn't have so much luck. We tried an upgraded router. the company Carrero sent us one of their high-end anti-DDoS routers. Very, very cool of them. Their techs worked with us probably 40 hours in 1 week, trying to throttle and limit it. Helped some, wasn't a magic bulletproof solution. We tried Cloudflare or whatever. Anyone use that? Yeah, don't. IP address, bypass it all. Yeah, that's not much help. So we created the new domain to mirror the content, securityrata.org. Throughout that, the ISP that we use, they were zero help. It's like, oh, we'll send a tech out. Oh, everything looks good on our side. Yeah, you're not understanding how this denial of service thing works. Anyway, we never figured out who was behind it. The only thing I ever wanted to know was why. I didn't care about who. Everyone's got a right to their pissed off opinion. If they want to do that, I really don't care. I'd like to know why. What did we do to deserve this? Because if it was something Errata related, we're going to keep it up. If it was something that I truly fucked up on, I want to know so I can not do it again. If I did bad, if I did wrong, I've got to know. It's the only way I can fix it. So the rest. EC Council, that one was back channels. I can't prove this, but it comes from a reliable source. They had some veiled threats against me, and that's also why I'm holding back 2 books full of plagiarism that I haven't published yet, because if they're going to come at me, then I'm going to return the favor. We had another Twitter imposter, attrition_org. If you're going to be an imposter, be creative. Come on, we deserve better than that. You know, this was the most mundane, boring feed you can imagine. We had charlatan groupies go after us. Voice of Grey Hat recently plagiarizes content, and then they're like we're related but not related, Team Grey Hat threatened to hack our server. They didn't do anything in our logs. Not a single thing appeared in our logs showing they even probed our servers, but they were a threat. The scary rest, Cat Techie. So this lady lives in India, caught her plagiarizing left and right. She denies it all, of course, like all the Indian plagiarists do. Oh, I didn't plagiarize, you know. Eventually, she comes around so that some of her fans are harassing me through email and saying, you're wrong, where's the evidence? And I'm like, here's the web page. Where's the evidence? Web page. Where's the evidence? HTML links, fucking click them, you know? And trying to bash this to their heads. So then recently, and yeah, this is very recent, May 25th, yeah, apparently she got a dog and named it Jericho. Yeah. James Attrition, one of her alter egos. Yeah. Okay. So, Errata's errata. Everyone makes mistakes, us included. This is a brief list of what I can remember that we got wrong, we could have handled better, or we just fucked up completely. You know, 10 redactions or so that I recall. One was security spam, misunderstanding. I had a good explanation. It wasn't as widespread as we thought. One security company article, due to confusion of timeline of events, brought it down before it was archived anywhere. I don't think anyone ever saw it, but if anyone ever asks us, we will quickly admit to it. We will explain both sides of the story and say, yep, they were right, we were wrong. And one article proactively removed about Greg Evans. He was doing some radio interview. He made a point about something that happened in California, and his clarification, the way he worded it, better explained it. That gave us new information. We read our page and said, yeah, the way we have it written isn't fair, so we just yanked it entirely. Tons of articles related, well, not tons, dozens of articles, maybe a dozen, I don't know. For clarity, new information. We want people to mail us with more information. We don't care whether it comes from you guys, a charlatan, whoever.
Can you explain the extent to which you will protect your sources?
Ask me again if I don't. Let's see, hundreds of typos and stupid grammar errors and fail to meet deadlines. I'm very bad about that because I work one daytime job, I work a nighttime job for OSF, which is a nonprofit, and then I do attrition, and then I have this much of a social life beyond that. So I will tell people, yes, within the next week I'll get to that, I'll review this, and I fail to meet those deadlines. I'm horrible about it, but I do my best. Why does Errata work? It's open and transparent as possible. We go out of our way to cite all of our sources. We have so much, do you have a question or are you stretching? Okay. Calisthenics, yeah, okay. We go out of our way to cite our sources. We try to be as thorough as possible. We link to the positive and the negative if possible. We'll update and retract. The articles are generally peer-reviewed. Usually the ones that aren't are the plagiarism, because there's a whole lot of minutia going back and forth. Those are checked for spelling, grammar, and logic, like the explanations, but it's all up there for any one of you to peer review if you want. We attempt to follow ethical journalism practices. We have nothing to gain, no financial interest or whatever. We stand up and defend our articles to the best of our ability, and we maintain a blacklist, not a whitelist. We only track the bad. If we tried to track the good, even more subjective, a lot harder, and ultimately, you don't punish the bad people, which we're keen on doing. It really works. Sometimes it feels like pissing in the wind, but Sahil Khan, plagiarist in India, wrote a book or two, plagiarized them. He emailed, or I forgot who, one of us emailed the other, ended up chatting with him on Instant Messenger, had a long chat and said, this is why you're wrong, this is why plagiarism sucks, this is why you shouldn't do it. He's like, you're right, you're right, you're right. I'm out of the computer business, I'm gonna become a lawyer. Cool, okay. Maybe he can go defend some of the other plagiarists there, I don't know. Jason Street, and yes, he's okay with me using his name. He was up on the charlatan watch list. He had some bad presentations. He had Dissecting the Hack, which had the plagiarism. He had all this stuff starting to add up. That's why he was on the watch list. He and I, we had to sit down last DEF CON, I think, or one before anyway, hour and a half lunch. We talked about it. He said, this is my side of the story. These are some of the things you didn't know. I was like, cool, more information, we like that. I said, my side, this is our perception, this is what we've seen. What do you want to do? He said, well, based on that, what are you going to do? I said, well, based on what you've told me, I'm going to remove this article and I'm going to edit this one. And in doing so, that's going to put 1.5 articles up, not 3. I don't like that. I'd rather have more of a body of evidence. And I said, well, let's do this. I'm going to go review more of your material that I haven't yet. I'm going to go look at more of your presentations. I'm going to go look at more of everything. If everything looks good, we're going to remove everything. And we did. He was happy with it, and he knows right now that at any point, if he goes and gives a presentation, that I am going to go watch it, one way or another. And if there's a problem, I'm going to go talk to him first. I'm not going to just go put up an article. So it's one of those that it's not meant to be a threat, but it ends up being one. And it's not a malicious threat. It's more or less, you do wrong, there's a good chance we're going to be there to watch and catalog. Greg Evans, rejected from some conferences. Some media refuses to talk to him. Christian Valor, if any of you remember 7, totally out of the industry. Michelle Delio from Wired, no longer writes from them after getting caught for making up sources and using one source over and over that, happened to be her boyfriend. What have we accomplished? Awareness in a sliver of sunshine and otherwise cloudy industry. Helping, why care? It's the ethical thing to do, for real, truly ethical thing to do. It's also the ethical thing to do because it's mandatory. CISSP makes you. How many are CISSPs? Code of Ethics, go read them again. You got to do the right thing. Start doing the right thing. Ethical thing to do, it gets you dates. Disclaimer, it has not gotten us any dates. We'll tell people that. Revenge, it's petty, sure. Fun, absolutely. We don't care where the information comes from. We don't care what your motive is. We do care that the information checks out. We get information mailed to us that is what we call salted. There's a motive, there's an agenda. We want to know it, but we don't discount it. If the agenda produces bad information, conflicting information, we have to throw it out. Helping. Have you reported an incident or charlatan? If not, why not? Hidden agendas generally don't stay hidden for long. Help them escape. That's what we want to do. No more, I won't name names. Man up, woman up, whatever. Name names. I understand there are times, and I've been in the same situation. You have a contract with a company, NDA, something prevents you from naming names. It does happen, but it doesn't happen all the time. If you don't want to name names, get a Gmail account. Talk to us. If you have solid information, we'll publish it. But we're going to verify it. If we're going to go to bat for you, we have to make sure it's good. The biggest thing, blog, tweet, Tumblr, whatever, summarize our findings. don't cut and paste. While we're all for mirror our content, Google doesn't rank it. So they'll get our copy and they'll be like, well, here's another copy, and they lump it all into that first finding. If you go and write your own blog with your own perspective and how you feel about that person or incident, that comes up on the searches. So if someone goes to search for a charlatan or a company, that first page of Google, we want to be entirely filled with all of the actual information that they should be saying, not the marketing spin that they usually deliver. Expectations, why hasn't it lived up? Ours, community support is dismal. We've covered that. Overall, barely having an effect. Most charlatans are still in business. To do it right takes a lot of time. From the community, they want more from us, faster, and more frequently. And they want all the work done for them. Oh, John Doe is a charlatan. Go. Thanks. You know how many times we get just a random name thrown at us? That's not enough. You need to do a little legwork for us. Why? The long-term and short-term burnout. Working on Errata is too much. Personal, professional situations change. Employer backlash. Resources. Limited manpower, already spread thin. Family, job, other projects. And volunteers quickly see it's not glamorous and they bail. Dreaming. What would Errata be like if we had these 13 years and one full-time person? How about 3 people, 5, 10? Project would look entirely different. How about if we had a real budget to fight anything, including First Amendment rights? That would be neat. What if more people in the industry wanted to take charlatans to task? More journalists. How about if we could cover all sources? Because right now, we're kind of limited. If we could look at every bug track post, every full disclosure, every conference talk, every piece of media. We had to close media down because you know how many articles come out with bullshit in them? Yeah. That's a full-time job for like 5 people right there. And ultimately, we wished every media outlet checked Errata before inviting charlatans on a show or conferences to inviting them to a talk. So, Errata, how did it happen? A lot of people contributed in one way or another. Obviously, long list. They all stand on their own. Look them up. You should. Find out why these people said, hey, I'm going to help. I'm going to be a critic. I'm going to give my time as an artist, whatever. Very good people, and they saw the project for what it is. Any questions?
Have you had any or investigated pro bono support from law firms or the lawyers that you're working with? Is that a potential avenue?
Yes and no. For the Greg Evans case, had a lawyer down in Georgia, ended up charging $1,100. He put in a lot more time than that. So yes, there was some pro bono work. Right now, I'm defending against HT Bridge, same thing. I have not paid out of pocket. I will, and when I do, it's going to be significantly less than what they would normally charge.
So they're supported to some degree.
To some degree, yes. They're doing a lot more than we expected. When we go into this, we expect to pay full price, and that's one of the things that kind of limits our options in court or settling or whatever. We definitely have not had support from like EFF or anyone else come to us and say, hey, by the way, if you're ever in trouble, give us a call. So, Sprague, back to, what was your question?
You answered it. How do you protect, how well or what length do you go to protect your sources?
Oh, yeah. About the only way a source's name will come out is if someone hacks my computers and takes it. And I try to go through measures to protect from that as well. Basically, everything goes through me. I am a journalist, and I have some legal protection as that. At most, I will be found in contempt, and when that happens, we'll see where it goes. Odds are I will spend some time in jail. 5 minutes of questions, come on. No? Apologies to Anonymous. So, I will be here in the reception afterwards, so if any of you have questions and you're just shy or timid or you're like, I don't want attention, ask me after this. Thank you.